Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Inc. Live with me and Vanessa. And today we have our very good friend Trienne with us. And we know Trienne, we love Trienne, but I actually want to hear from Trienne on what she does, who she serves, and how she helps. And she helps a lot, by the way. So
You guys are so sweet. So, yeah, my name's Trienne. I'm actually a leadership performance coach. I'm the CEO of Be That Create That, which I call a training platform for women who are in leadership positions to help them really figure out like who they are as a leader. How do they use that voice? How do they really reach for their next level personally and professionally, whether that's with a big team, maybe a network marketing type of situation, or maybe they own their own company. So most of my clients either run a small office or they own their own company.
very cool. So we've had a lot of conversations about leadership, and I think and for me, I actually really love some of your posts about leading ourselves and how we, how we as mom, are we don't necessarily have to be in an office or a boardroom to be quote unquote leaders. And I think my relationship with you is how I even started seeing myself as a leader, because for a long time, I am just, a small business owner, a mom, and all these labels that are really not necessarily, I don't feel are leaders. But the reality is, as I've known you and gotten a lot of wisdom from you, I'm like, oh wait, yeah, I am a leader. And then starting to, hold myself up to that standard. And above that, I'm becoming more accountable, right? Because now I'm like, okay, now I'm a leader. I gotta act like it. I gotta be it, right? And that's also why I love your brand, Be That Create That.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us more, like how, like, so people don't know you as well as I do, but how do we use leadership in our daily lives?
So I love that one of the things that first of all, thank you so much for that. You saying, I've learned this, or I've really learned how to apply this into my life and to be a leader in those different moments, like that fills me up because that's the impact that I want to make, right? Because I know if you're feeling like that as a leader, not only in your business, but also in your home, then you are making that impact on your family and on your kids. And you're showing them like in one moment, I can make a difference. I can make a choice. And I would say the biggest thing that I would share with people is that wherever you are, wherever your 2 feet are, be there and understand that you are always either influencing the people that are around you or you are being influenced by them. So you can either bring that energy and you can make it a positive environment and you can help people by making an impact or talking them through so that they learned how to respond rather than to react emotionally. And you can help them through that. Or you can be that person who sits back and is like, okay, I'm just ready to watch this show happen. I'm sorry, that's not watching things happen is not leadership. Um, so I think understanding that we all have the chance to influence and make an impact is where we first go, okay, what kind of leader do I want to be? And what does that look like? And how can I get to that point?
And you and I have had a lot of conversations about being in the moment. So what are other ways? Because I think for us, sometimes we run on autopilot, right? And then sometimes we go, wait, how did I get here? That's not even where I wanted to go. What are three easy ways that we can be in that moment and be a leader in that moment?
Well, I think we first have to see ourselves as that. I think the very first thing that we have to do is we have to say, am I a leader in which I would admire or follow?
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm not, what areas can I change? I'm not talking about like getting down on yourself about it by any means, because that's not going to help any of us. But what I'm talking about is how can I be that person which I admire and be able to use it to inspire other people? So I would say the very first thing is to just be that leader that you want to be in each moment. And is it easy? Heck no, it's not easy. Is it simple? Yes, because it's a choice, right? It's a choice to go, I can either go this way or go this way. And which one of those is somebody that I would admire or somebody that I could look back on, or a story I could tell my grandma about. My grandma is like my person, right? She passed away 15 years ago. And her little picture is right up here. I think to myself, like, is that a story that I want to share with my grandma? Would she be proud of that? Right. So when I think about the way I'm acting, whether that's as a parent or whether that's just me personally, like my choice to get up and go to the gym this morning, or is it my, the way that I'm acting around my team or treating my team? Is that a story that I would be proud to talk about? And it takes some personal accountability, like you said earlier, to stop and think. I'd say that that's number two. You got to stop and think, who am I being right now? Where is this going to get me? And is that in alignment with the vision that I have for myself or my team or my family, whatever we're comparing that piece of leadership to? So that would be the number two, is really thinking about, who am I being in this moment? Where is this going to get me? And if it's not working for me, then how am I going to adjust? And I would say what's interesting is that, I feel like leadership training is kind of all around us. And a long time ago, so my daughter, you guys know my oldest daughter is 10, and that girl teaches me new leadership skills every day. And when I was first a mom, I was one of those people that had to like learn to be a mom. I was not a made to be mom. And I had to make a choice. How do I want my relationship with my daughter to be, my relationship with my partner to be? What do I want that to look like? And if I'm not getting that right now, then I need to act differently. And I decided early on, I did not want to be a mom that was yelling. I'm not a spanker. I'm like, that is just not our form of discipline, right? Because when you start to yell, you have to get louder and louder for them to listen. So one of the things that I realized early on is the quieter I got, the quieter she got, because we mirror and match each other's energy. Right. And you do that in parenting, and you also do that really when you think about it in your workplace. Mm-hmm. So that all starts again with me. Am I going to allow this 4-year-old tyrant to influence me and my energy? Or am I going to take control of this situation and say, you know what, that's not where I want this to go. I love and respect you, and I expect the same. So how do I change it up? And sometimes you got to do that in the moment.
Right. And it's interesting you mentioned parenting, because I think we're all parents in here, we're all moms. And, when my kids mostly grew up with me, and my husband is usually the one who works a lot. And when he's watching the kid, he would always be like on the phone texting me, complaining about the kids. And I would always say, you're the parent, so be the parent. And every time he would, come to me and complain, I'm like, be the parent, to be the parent. And one of the things that I started doing in my business, in my head, when we run into tough conversations, when Vanessa and I would run into tough conversations, in my head, I would always be, and I didn't mention this to you, but one of the things that I started doing is be the leader, right? Yes. And we just recently had a tough conversation with a previous relationship. And in my head, I'm like, okay, we have to be the leader. We have to make sure that we don't burn the bridge, and we have to be gracious about how we're going to let this relationship develop and evolve. And that's one of the things that I got from you. Like, it's and this is also a lesson for everybody. Just because someone doesn't comment, just because someone doesn't do anything in anything of your post, doesn't mean they're not listening.
Absolutely. I have had people who have reached out and been like, that's exactly what I needed to hear today. And it's just in that moment that you're like, okay, I am making a difference. People are watching, they are listening. This is valuable content to share. And I also think it's really important to remember in leadership that sometimes the best thing you can do as a leader is be a follower when you know that you can help support maybe another person who is being a leader, right? So like the two of you being in a business, what I love about that is, and you guys bounce off of each other so well, where Vanessa will be like, I'm kind of the front and the face, and you're like, I'm taking care of stuff in the back end. And every once in a while, you guys shift that. And it's beautiful because it's kind of a dance that you have to do, and you have to trust that other person. So you have to know when to lead and you have to know when to follow, depending on who it is that you're working with and who you're trying to support.
And I think that's really one of the characters of a really good leader, right? If you're a really good follower, you're highly likely going to be a good leader,
Mm-hmm.
because because you're able to listen, you're coachable, and you really you have a lot of grace that you can let other people shine in what where they need to shine, right? You have a 6 week course that's coming up, an event, and we'd love to hear about it. Tell us more. Invite us, please.
Yes, I absolutely love this group program. It's the second time that we've run it. It's called Time to Lead, and LEAD is actually an acronym. And I teach in this 6 week program because we do weekly trainings, and then everybody that is in the program gets an opportunity to do one-on-one personal call with me so that we can discuss their personal growth plan. And we can also talk about anything that specifically is going on with their leadership in their organization or their team. And that is the stuff that lights me up when we get really like diving in and personal. So I would say that this 6 week program is not only even for a beginner in leadership, but also someone who maybe they've had a team for a while, but they need to think about their leadership in a different way. That's why I call it an immersion. Like, let's get in there and let's get down and dirty. Let's be open. Let's really grow from that experience. And in there, we talk about culture, we talk about communication, we talk about how to engage your team. We also talk about your personal growth plan, because a person who leads themselves can lead others. And if you are not personally growing, then how can you ever expect for your team to be personally growing? Because you're leading by example. Now, what I love about that program is that, we do a weekly training, but then throughout the week, people will throw in there, hey, this is something I have going on with my team. This is something I realized about communication today, because each week is a different focus. But then after they do this, because we've paired them up, there might be, so in my last program, I had a restaurant manager and I had someone who was in charge of a nonprofit organization. I can take those two people and I can pair them up and I can say, you guys are both adjusting to leadership roles and you can learn from each other, and you're in two totally different industries, but you're on the same page and helping each other and supporting. And that helps them learn to build that circle around them to support. So Time to Lead, I originally, we talked about maybe going into a 12-week program, but the 6-week program for people is just like, get in, make a difference, and then be able to maybe support and teach your team some of those things as well.
Right.
And this can be applied to any like businesses, like what you said. So we do stream this into our LinkedIn, my LinkedIn profile. So yeah, so is this like more of a B2B or B2C?
B2B or B2C, is that what you said?
Yeah.
I would say that this program, again, not necessarily only for a beginner, but maybe someone who's like, I'm not getting the results that I envisioned for my team. And they're open enough to look at how their own performance is affecting that. So what I also love about it is then we talk about this conversation, and one of our very first weeks, we talk about communication. So what's interesting is we take that communication and we say, okay, now go and do. Because communication isn't always about how I'm speaking. It's also how I'm listening.
Right.
So get out there, ask questions, get out there, start finding out more about the jobs that your people in your team are doing. Ask them how they're doing, ask them what they need for more support, and listen. Zip the lips and listen.
Right.
And what's interesting is I'm glad that's one of the first weeks, because it does tend to really get people challenging themselves to make the changes that are necessary.
Right. That's very cool. That's very cool, and it's very exciting. When does it start? When does Time to Lead 6 weeks start?
So Time to Lead's coming up fast. It's supposed to be starting on November 7th. I do all the trainings through a Facebook group. And then if somebody needs to replay, because I'm a replay girl myself, they can go in there and replay. And then I'm always open in the DMs for them to respond. So they almost also kind of see what it's like to work with me in a one-on-one 90-day mentoring capacity, because they can ask questions personally, however they need to. And then I support them through that 6 weeks. So I love the ongoing connections that people get from that group, but also, you know, with me, it gets them more engaged in our the female leader headquarters, because then they already feel like they're getting past some of that imposter syndrome.
Right.
You know, you talked about being a leader. It's also about posturing up. Like, what do you know? You have this worthy information inside of you, and not sharing it is not justifying it for yourself or the people around you. So sometimes being a leader is just like, I have this information and I need to share it because I know it's going to make somebody's life better, you know?
Right. And one of the mindset shifts that I had to make about sharing my knowledge is you're robbing people of the information that they need in order for them to grow. And you don't want to do that. As a leader, you don't want to do that.
No, because sometimes leaders think they have to have all the answers. We don't have all the answers. We're just resourceful. We know where to find them.
Right, right, right. And you don't have to have all the answers as well. I mean, there's, areas of expertise, and it just happens that that's not something, that and that's also one of the things about being a good leader, is being able to identify the gifts of your people, so you can then be able to kind of work with that, right?
Yeah. So integrating some of the skills and abilities that you have on your team to get things off of your plate is not you delegating for the sake of delegating and you just don't want to do the job. It's no, you're entrusting this other person to do those things. So you're building trust with that person. You're building some empowerment within them, that they know that they can. It leaves you room on your plate for you to grow as a person and take on maybe some new roles and new tasks. And that feels exciting, no matter what role that you're in.
Right, right. Well, this is all amazing. I think we could talk forever about leadership and personal development and leading ourselves, right? What we'll do is we'll drop the invite link to Time to Lead, and we'll make sure to remind you guys that Time to Lead is coming up the first week of November. And Trienne, before we wrap up, we'd love to hear your last words.
My last words. I always got a million words, Shanna. You know that. I don't have last words. My last words, honestly, would just be, when you're really thinking about being present in the moment, it's, what do you want to be known for? Who do you want to be? I don't want, again, coming back to leadership from a parenting aspect, I don't want my kids to remember me as the mom that yelled all the time. I want them to remember our time together as me encouraging them, as us having fun together, as them feeling like they could just be themselves. And is that not the same thing I want for my team at the restaurant, right? I want them to feel like they can be themselves. I want them to feel empowered. I want them to know that they have a safe space. So when you're in that moment, think like, what do I want it to feel like? What do I want to create? What do I want it to be like? And then you just act upon that. It's simple, but it's not always easy.
So thank you so much, Trienne, for hanging out with us. We always love when you hang out with us. So I'd love to have you back whenever you're ready.
Tomorrow sounds good.
Right. Thank you so much, everyone, for hanging out with us. We're gonna drop all the links, especially Time to Lead 6 weeks is coming up, so don't miss that. And see you guys in the group. I know I also know Trienne has a group, so I'll also drop the link in there, so that way you get all the good stuff before you even get to Time to Lead, if you're ready for that. So thank you so much, and have a great day. Bye.
Thank you. You guys have